3 games left in the season for Oregon State, and the Beavers are still hungry for their first Pac-12 win. Corey Hall looks to rally his troops in Tucson as the Beavers face off against one of the nation's most dynamic playmakers, Khalil Tate. Plus, we take a look at Oregon State's run game, how it can get going again after a disappointing performance versus Cal. All that and more right now on a brand new edition of Talkin Beavers. Oregon State heads to Arizona this week as the season winds down. Both teams looking to bounce back after disappointing losses last weekend. Welcome into Talkin Beavers. Amanda Maynard, we got Jason John Baptiste, Lindsay Schnell, and Evanson Bernard here with us tonight. We're going to talk about the massive challenges that Arizona presents. Just a little guy named Khalil Tate, you might have heard of him. Plus, we're going to give you our keys to a rebuild down in Corvallis. But first, Beavers falling to Cal. What are you guys taking from this one?
No
okay,
punts.
I have to say something really fast.
No punts. No punts.
Every week when we email about the show, Jason's emails are like a personal therapy session. It's hilarious, like the highs and lows that he goes through with this team.
It's been very hard.
You're so invested.
Okay. Can I just say, did anyone know of this layered kid before this game against the Beavers?
Nah.
I mean, 214 yards
We
rushing.
certainly didn't talk about him. Nope.
214 yards rushing.
Although, weren't you the one that pointed out that people tend to have career games against Oregon State?
That is
I did, but I don't want it to continue happening. I don't want this to be a repetitive thing. I mean, so thoughts about the game. To me, where was the defense? You know, for the past 2 games, the defense has been able to pick it up, play really well against the run. I mean, you stopped Stanford even without Bryce Love. Who cares? Still stopped him. Philip Lindsay, who's one of the better backs in the league, and in the conference, they were able to kind of keep him bottled up until like later in the second half. But this layer kid, he's not that great of he's not that great of a back. 214 yards rushing.
Well, wasn't it Ev that said that Bo Baldwin was showing off? This was a job interview.
Yeah, he was showing off, and obviously you can tell he was trying to bring out everything. And you know, as expected, you would expect him to pull some tricks out of the bag and have a great game. And he called a great game, and I think it kind of opened up our eyes from Beaver fans. We're like, wow, all right, this guy's actually the real deal. Because going into it,
because you didn't know that after Vernon Adams killed them a few years ago.
No, I wasn't really high on him quite yet. But and then we talked about him being the Cal offense being ranked 11th in the conference, right? So I was like, all right,
no way.
What are we going crazy about?
Right.
And so then you see that, and that kind of opens up your eyes.
Say, I already knew this. So to me, the most troubling thing was some of their problems kind of crept back. They struggled again in the second half.
Right.
Where did that come from? That seemed to have gone away. They had played so much better in second halves, and then they just got blown out again.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you make of? I'm kind of with Jason. It's like you look at them, even without Bryce Love, Stanford's still a good team.
Stanford is super vanilla on offense. Everyone knows what they're going to run.
Where is this inconsistency coming from, you feel like?
This team has been through a lot. That's what I think.
I don't know. I mean, from the last 2 games, I thought they played great. They played all 4 quarters. I just think last week was just totally not what we expected. They went back. The second half was totally not what we expected.
Yeah, and let's not forget, this is their first game on the road under
so
Corey
different.
Hall. So let's not forget about that. And did I mention they didn't punt that once?
Well,
I'm not sure if I mentioned that. I mean, that's the first time since 2004 for Cal. I mean, that's a really long, that's 13 years.
And, Cal hasn't been good during that time also, worth pointing out.
I mean, it's
crazy. And so, like we said last week, I mean, Corey Hall needs to win in order to have even a shot at this job. Is there any pressure on the players to win games for him?
Hey, listen.
No.
Of course. I think the guys, obviously we see that these players love Coach Hall, right? Yeah. And so going these games forward, and last week, they're playing for him. They're playing for him. So they feel bad. I think they probably feel worse when they lost this game, or this game compared to last games, because they regress so far back. It's not what Corey Hall expects from the group.
Yeah, I mean, as former players, both Evan and I think feel the same way. It's like, you play for yourself and you play for your teams, but when your coach is depending on you to kind of, win, hell yeah, you're playing for him. I mean, and you want to win because especially if you love him and you like him as a coach, you want him to maintain that position. So absolutely they're playing for him.
Lindsay says no.
Well, to me, I look at it as, I think there's way more pressure on Hall to hold this team together so that they don't completely fall apart, so that he can set himself up for his next job.
An interesting name coming out this week. I mean, we kind of heard this name as tossed out.
I can't wait to have this debate.
Les Miles is reportedly interested in the job. If you're Oregon State, are you giving him a call?
Bring it on, baby. Bring it on. Yeah.
What Pac-10 or Pac-12? Oh my God, man.
No.
What Pac-12 team doesn't want an SEC former head coach?
Oh, one that doesn't know how to coach offense? I mean, you guys, that's why he got fired at LSU. He cannot coach offense. He cannot coach quarterbacks. He had the best running back in the country in Leonard Fournette, and he didn't touch the ball for multiple games, like multiple stretches.
Okay, but I do think we are. Let's be honest, they are looking at Les Miles. A guy of his caliber, you automatically do look.
Who has no West Coast recruiting ties.
So, okay. So here's the thing. So a couple different things. Because I've been waiting to have this argument with Lindsay for a while now. She texts messages too fast. I can't keep up.
Enough to argue with me on text.
But I can keep up with her now. Okay, so number one, Les Miles has a name recognition that you want at a university. There's no doubt about that. I could care less if he's not from the West Coast and if he doesn't. He's
have West Coast recruiting ties because that's where you need your
Hey, we'll take this one south. Hold on now.
Oh, yeah, because they want to come here.
He's going to bring people with him. People are going to want to come to Oregon State just for the fact that it's Les Miles. I get that he doesn't, he's not really good at coaching quarterbacks and offense, but he can hire a great assistant coach for that.
You think that he didn't have money at LSU to do those things?
You live and learn. You live and learn. You can do that. And the Leonard Fournette thing, part of that also was that Leonard Fournette was trying to save himself for the NFL as well. So let's not forget about that. So there is some of that too.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I think that they could at least hand him the ball occasionally.
I'm just saying.
Look, I agree about the name recognition, but you got to hire someone West Coast recruiting ties. That matters. That's who you're going to recruit. You're going to recruit in California. That is going to be the bulk.
Or maybe
no,
bring Will Baldwin in as his offensive coordinator.
The SEC is not why he has an OC job in the Pac-12 already. You bring an SEC guy out here. This is exactly the type of hire that Oregon State would make that I anticipate would blow up in their face. We're going to swing for the fences, not know who we really are here. Les Miles worked at LSU, which has every advantage in the book. What does he know about coming to a place where you have to be different? You have to work harder. You have to be able to sell Corvallis. I mean, I do not think it would work at all.
No, there's parts of that message, what you're saying is correct. I truly believe that. But also, at the end of the day, an SEC coach, an LSU SEC coach at that, will definitely have a look.
Well, they just got the coach that they just had was at Wisconsin, where they played for the Big Ten title, and people were really excited about that. Not
different cat, right? Different cat.
All right, later in the show, it is a showdown between Steven Jackson and Ken Simonton on our Day and Best bracket. And up next, we're taking a look at the future of Beaver football as Evanston names his top 3 returners on offense. For our Best Foot Forward, brought to you by the Good Feet Store, and we are 3/4 of the way through the season, so we're going to be breaking down the top 3 returners on offense and defense, starting with Evanston. We're going to get your take on who is instrumental to kind of turning things around, not only this season, but next season. Who do we have at number 3?
At number 3, I have Noah. I like his style play. I think last week he played great. It was great to see how physical he was. When he caught the ball, I saw him run over some of those DBs. I love seeing that from a tight end his size. Very important guy on the team. Obviously, we saw the first game of Colorado State how great he can be.
How do you feel like his season has gone? Because he did come in with such high expectations.
Yeah.
A lot of people have talked about his pro potential. Do you feel like he's lived up to his expectations?
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw flashes of him being a big-time potential pro guy. You saw him play early on really well, and then he obviously got the injury bug, right? The Beaver injury bug that's been spreading around. So he got nicked up a little bit, but came back, I think, last week. Like I said, I think he did a great job. It was good to see him being physical after those injuries.
All right, who's number 2?
Number 2, Jake Luton.
Okay.
Obviously, I know we don't have him right now, and but I think he was very important. I think, he was young, right? It was his first year in the system, so we got to see him kind of develop as a young guy. I think next year the sky's the limit for him. He has a great arm, definitely a pro-style kind of guy. We'll see where our offense goes from there. Do we run the spread or do we run the pro-style offense? But this guy can be very special, and I think we saw flashes of him.
All right. I have a feeling who number one's going to be, but tell us anyways.
Yeah, I definitely, Ryan Nall, right? Our running back. And so with him, obviously, we don't know if he's going to come back next year, right? So we could lose him, but we're hoping, right? But for a guy of his caliber, I mean, obviously, we know that he's probably thinking about, entering the draft. You might as well get, injured in the NFL, right? Get paid while you're doing it instead of doing it in college, unless they start paying college athletes.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, he is the guy that runs the offense and makes the offense go.
Anyone really close to making this list? Any else?
Yeah, if Ryan leaves, Pierce.
Okay, right. He's the one to
Pierce
step
is
up.
definitely going to be the next guy that steps in and he's that that dynamic running back that Oregon State always needs to be a part of the offense. But yeah, I think Pierce could be definitely a special guy if Nall's not there taking those carries.
All right, speaking of the run game, it was tough sledding against that Cal defense. Here's what Kevin McGivern had to see.
I think some growing pains a little bit on the interior. Targeting hasn't really been an issue. Getting fronts ID'd. I think Sumner's done a good job with that. But teams have dialed in on it. They're playing us differently. And really you got to be able to keep teams honest, and they've got to feel that threat in the pass game. But even I think the defensive approach with what we see, the way teams are playing other opponents, there's just a very high disregard for the pass game. You're seeing, forms of zero coverage. You're seeing closed middle, and that's just about against everybody that they play. And so they're daring you to do some things in the throw game and with play action. And so we've seen some different looks than what teams have played us last year. And so we got to come up with some things to be able to get that going and try to capitalize on some things in the next couple of weeks.
In our Les Schwab quick fix, we knew Cal had a good run defense, but the Beavers could not get anything going. They managed just 104 yards on 31 carries. That is their lowest output since against Minnesota. What were you guys seeing? Why couldn't they get anything going?
I'll tell you why. Because when Evanson just stood over there and did his top 3 players, none of them were offensive linemen. That's a huge problem.
That is true.
Well, it's that in conjunction with the fact that they had 8 people in the box. I mean,
everybody knows what they're doing.
Everybody knows what they're doing. And the thing is that another takeaway from the Cal game is that we can't throw the ball. They have such a hard time.
Wait, that's the takeaway from the Cal game? You didn't know that before?
No, I'm just saying, no, I knew that before, but what I'm saying is that Cal's defense isn't very good.
Right.
So the fact that they still can't throw the ball is an issue. I mean, erratic throws, players not catching the ball. I mean, it's not only on one-sided either. It's not just DG. It's also the receivers that he's throwing them to. They're not catching the ball.
Right.
So
yeah, the way we ran the ball last week versus Stanford, right? A very physical defense. You would have thought, right, we would go out and just bring it to Cal, and we didn't. And so I'm just confused on what happened to the running game from this week or last week and then the week before that. I'm just confused.
Yeah.
I do think it's worth pointing out that Justin Wilcox is, a very well, he's a great defensive mind. That was his calling card forever. He was very successful early in his career at Boise State, and goes to Washington, struggled at SC, but Cal's a good example of just finding a good fit. But to me, the biggest thing when I watch this and I talk about their struggles is I just keep thinking, this is a better job than when Gary Anderson got here a few years ago from a facilities standpoint. But on the field, it's worse. It's backwards. There's no identity. What are they going to do? They're going to walk into a roster that's kind of all over the place. It's half kids who are pro style, half kids who want to do a spread option. This is why I think it's going to take a while to dig out of this.
So you're speaking in terms of whoever comes in as the next coach and what they have.
Yeah, when I watch them, it's just you don't know who this team is, and I'm not sure if there are the pieces to immediately fix it.
A lot of different identities for sure.
We're going to hand out our Wilson Motor game ball, and this is actually something that you all did agree on. Jason, why don't you just let us know who you all chose?
Well, yeah, Manasseh. I mean, Pac-12 Player of the Week, 20 tackles. I mean, if you get 20 tackles in a game, I think you deserve to be the player of the game. He was obviously Player of the Week, not only Player of the Game for us, but Player of the Week. I think that's the first time him and David Morris are the 2 top leading tacklers per game on a game basis in the whole Pac-12. So that says something as well too. He had a great game.
It says our defense is on the field too long too.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Very true. Very true. All right, still to come. We're getting Jason's key returners on defense. And after the break, who is the best offensive player in Oregon State history? We're getting closer to crowning him. Stick around. looking to crown the top performance in Oregon State history in our damn best bracket. Now for the winner of our defensive matchup, it was Jordan Poyer going up against Nick Barnett.
Ooh.
And the winner is, this one was close too.
Look at that.
Lindsay's husband did not make it.
Hold up. I want to say something while we're on camera.
Wow.
Why is it that because Jordan Poyer is my favorite player, it has to mean that I have a crush on him? Because that's not what it is. That's not, when you have a favorite female athlete, do I assume it's because you want to date that person? No.
I agree.
That's a stereotype that I'm not cool with.
All right, we are moving on to the offensive matchup. Ken Simonton versus Steven Jackson. An interesting one. Who do you think is going to win this?
Oh, Stevie J.
Easy?
Stop.
Stevie J, yeah.
Ken Simonton.
What?
Ken.
Ken.
He
There we go.
started the whole RB trend outside of Bill and
Okay, okay.
But he started it all.
Okay, time out.
Without him, there's no Fiesta Bowl team. Without him, Steve probably doesn't want to come.
Okay, you could say the same thing about Jonathan Smith at the for the quarterback. So is this about who the best player was or who started the trend?
Best player, hands down.
Okay.
Most yards, Ken Simonton. It's funny because I was able to send Steve and Ken a text message earlier. I showed him a picture of, we're voting on who's the best running back. And this is what Ken said. Earthquake had the best nickname. Quiz was the most exciting. Ev was the most consistent. SJ was the best RB. But I was the most handsome. So
I like that.
you can put a handsome poll in there too.
Okay.
I like that you threw in you were the most consistent too.
I think what's hard about this is people think about the NFL and about Jackson's success in the pro leagues, and that changes your opinion. You don't necessarily just think about their numbers at Oregon State.
See, but the other thing too is that Ken played all 4 years.
Right.
Stevie
I'm
only
aware.
played all 3 years.
Because he was so
only
good,
3,
he
he was
left.
so good that he left. So had he played his 4th year, he would have blown those numbers out the water.
I'm with you.
So
You can vote on our Facebook page. We'll bring you the results on Friday. We're taking a break for basketball now, though. The men opening up the season later this week, this Friday, for Southern Utah. They're taking part in the Dam City Classic. We're going to take a look at their schedule in just a moment. Playing St. Louis on December 16th. Of course, then Pac-12 play opens against Colorado December 29th. Lindsay had the chance to catch up with Coach Tinkle and Trace, who is now fully healthy, to talk about the expectations for the year.
Like May said, play for each other. Let's go. Let's start off right here tonight. It starts right now. And all 40 minutes, play our game. Beavers on 3. 1, 2, 3. Beavers. You got shooter. You got shooter. Don't help. Straight up, Drew. Straight up. Straight up.
What do you feel like the expectations are for the team this season? You're healthy. You got a lot of talented freshmen, a good grad transfer in. Are you guys talking about we need to go back to the tournament?
Yeah, I think obviously our expectations are different than, the peers around us and, the community. I think we know what we're capable of doing. We're a talented group. So yeah, we obviously have our goals where, we want to get back to the tournament. But just with a year like last year, we can't put too much emphasis on that. We just have to worry about winning games, getting better every single day. And, if we do that, the end result will be what we want to do.
To watch him come over to try and contest it, he falls hard on that right arm. And I know he had hoped perhaps that he'd be back by this game, Mary, just not.
Somebody that really understands, of course, what his dad wants out there, and a huge loss in this team.
So for you to stay healthy this season, are you walking around campus in some sort of protective bubble?
I should be. No, that's what I saw Gary earlier this year, and he was laughing. He's like, you just need to be in a plastic bubble, some bubble wrap or something. But no, I try not to think like that. I think all my injuries were, freak incidents, never just, just kind of walking and, something like that, something silly. But, just try to stay positive and, just try not to put too much, thought and recollection on, what happened in my past, and just try to move forward and just try to, pray for a healthy year.
What we've told him is you can't change how you play, and I think the first injury with his foot was something that was from high school. He just never took a day off, and that stress fracture, and then he caught it just wrong on somebody else's foot. And then the wrist was a freak accident. He got undercut trying to block a shot. And I told him right away, we're not going to ever ask you to change the way you play. You'll be cheating the game. And so, you love that. And if one of your best players has that mentality, you hope everybody else adopts it. So we know he's huge for us, but I'll have to admit, those first few practices he was back in those games, I kind of closed my eye when he leaves his feet, but can't do that. We just got to throw caution to the wind, and you know, hopefully he's had enough injuries now that it will last him for a lifetime.
What encourages you guys about this group that they will indeed be better? Is it just a healthy Trace?
A healthy Trace for sure. They got a grad transfer in Seth Berger. That should be huge for them, I think. You know, he brings a lot of experience and leadership. Ethan Thompson is the real deal, you guys. You know, he is, Tinkle and I talked about this, Wayne Tinkle and I talked about this actually, that Ethan reminds him of Trace a little bit, because that's that youngest kid thing where you kind of have to fight and scrap for everything. It was like that in the Tinkle's house growing up with Joss and Ellie. They never took it easy on Trace. And then it was the same thing with Ethan and his brother. So I think there's a lot of optimism. I think just you want to be a top half of the conference, you know, just be in the top 6.
For guys who have had, I don't know what your most serious injuries have been, but what is kind of that balance between being tentative, playing it safe, but then also going full throttle after an injury? How do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, I think, and Ev and I both can speak to this, it's the mental toughness aspect. I think it's hard initially, you know, just kind of wrapping your head around not being able to play. I mean, because that's all we all want to do, being athletes, is that we want to be able to play, we want to be able to compete. And when that's taken away from you because you're hurt, now you have to concentrate all that energy towards getting better and you know, rehabilitating. And you're doing that alone a lot of times. You know, you don't have your teammates around you supporting you or any of that stuff. So your mental toughness has to be on a different level in order to get through that. I'm sure, you know, Ev could speak to that too.
Yeah, coming back from the injuries is never easy, right? Because you're always worried about injuring it again or doing something else. But, you know, for me, one of the things for me was to just kind of, you know, forget about the past, right? And just start, I got a clean new slate. Let's go out and just have a good time and play. And obviously your teammates, right? Just making sure that you're feeling the love and you're feeling good. And you almost forget about, hey, I was injured like, you know, a couple months ago or whatever last season. And so just kind of just going full go and letting it rip, you know, because you just never know when that next injury is around the corner.
Yeah.
So,
he looks ready though.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm excited for those guys.
Yeah. Later in the show, we're talking about one of the most dynamic playmakers in the country, Khalil Tate. What will it take for the Beavers to stop him? And after the break, we've got our headlines with Lindsay. Well, earlier this season, we all gave the Beavers a real shot at beating Arizona, and then Khalil Tate happened. We're going to have a discussion on him. Plus, we're going to talk about what it's going to take to rebuild in Corvallis, and Jason's going to give us his top 3 returning defenders. Time now for our standard TV and appliance headlines with Lindsay Schnell of USA Today. And boy, this one has been tough for them all year long, right? Injuries.
Yeah, you want to talk about being bitten by the injury bug. Oh my goodness, the Oregon State secondary has been feeling that this year. And earlier this week, Corey Hall, interim coach Corey Hall, was asked, you know, are some of these guys going to come back like Xavier Crawford? And Hall was pretty non-committal.
I was upstairs in the dining hall, and so he just got back from an appointment. Again, when I come up on Mondays, I'm generally just kind of, you know, trying to reset and refocus and plan ahead for Arizona, and then I'll leave here and I'll go down and I'll kind of see where we are. I believe as I was sitting in my office just before I left you, you know, you get word on one player here or there, and that has nothing like an elbow. You know, you get word on like a Tino, and then I have to come down, and then I'll go and get the full list. So.
There's a non-answer answer if you've ever heard one. So along with all these injuries that we've seen out of the secondary, get this, the Beavers are going to be without Bright Ugwebu and Kyle White for the first half. Both of them were ejected for targeting, so they have to sit out the first half. And then Trevoris Johnson, a backup running back, has been suspended indefinitely for a violation of team rules. No further details, but Amanda, this team doesn't have a lot of depth, and it's taken hits already.
All right, well, it'll be interesting to see what Ryan Nall, Thomas Tyner can do. We'll talk about that more in the show, getting that run game going. How about basketball, though? We got some basketball news.
Okay, so it was a big day for the men's and women's basketball teams, and I mean that literally. National Signing Day was today, Wednesday, and how about this? The men's team adds 2 7-footers. Kyler Kelly, he's a 2015 Jervis, Oregon graduate who then went to JUCO for a couple years. Jack Wilson, he's a 4-star recruit from San Mateo, California, another 7-footer. And then Warren Washington, he's only 6'11", but a 3-star recruit from San Marcos, California. So that's big for them, obviously trying to get a lot of size because of what they're going to lose in the coming years.
And I know you had the chance chance to sit down with, Coach Tinkle and Trace. What do you feel like this team is missing? What do you think those guys will add to this team?
To be honest, I think a big part of it outside of Trace is they don't have a lot of toughness. But I think we're going to see that this year with Ethan Thompson coming in. I think he's going to push older brother Stevie. But I think that these are going to be Wayne Tinkle type of guys, going forward, gritty players. And if you want to be in the top half of the Pac-12, that's what it's going to take.
And the ladies also adding some height.
You guys, you think that you've seen height at Oregon State women's games? No, no, no. How about 6'9" and 6'7"? Are you kidding me? And this 6'9" girl, she is a baller. Andrea Aquino, she's from Paraguay. She's played in New Jersey. I believe now she is in California. But she is the #7 player in the 2018 class. This was a huge get for Scott Ruick. My understanding is she can play inside, outside. And then let's not forget about the 6'7" Patricia Morris out of Duarte, California. And then in addition to that, they signed a 5'11" guard, Jasmine Simmons of Australia. This is the 14th ranked class in the country, the highest class that Ruick has ever brought in. And, this is the class that they really felt the effects from the Final Four. When they went to the Final Four a couple years ago, this is the class that they managed to get in with because of that. So literally big news, this is big for them. And next year, you guys, 6'9" and 6'8", they're going to be on the floor together because the 6'8" Joe, the JUCO kid they brought in this year, it's going to be a nightmare to defend them.
All right, a little later in the show, Khalil Tate's name has been buzzing across college football when it comes to the Heisman. Does he have a shot to be invited to New York City? And after the break, Jason is diving into the defense. Who are the 3 most important returners there? Well, welcome back to Talkin Beavers. In our Comcast business class, built for business, what and who will it take to turn this thing around? We've given you our top 3 players on offense. Now Jason's here to give us our top 3 returners on defense.
That's right.
Who do you have? Number 3?
It's all about running to the ball, making plays.
Right?
Well, the first person for me happens to be David Morris.
Okay.
The true freshman, product out of Sherwood, Oregon. And the thing I love about him is that no one saw this coming. He stepped in during the Minnesota game. Came out of nowhere, had 17 tackles for, the Beaver alums, everyone remember that game. And he's just been playing and balling out ever since. I mean, he's the second leading tackler in the game for this team. So, I mean, he's been playing phenomenally well, always seems to find himself in the right place at the right time, making plays. So he's number 1 for me, or number 3.
All right, who do we have number 2?
All right, number 2, I love this guy. Jonathan Willis, he's the one that puts the pressure on the QB, and he's been doing it ever since he's stepped foot on the inside linebacker role and position. He leads the team in sacks, second leading tackles for losses, right behind Manasseh Hangalu. I think after Manasseh graduates that he's going to step into his role, his position, and be the leader of the defense coming next year.
Do you feel like, again, as we talked about with Morris, I think earlier in the season, I mean, it's almost like they step in and they just play well because they have no expectation or anything holding them back.
And that's just the thing is that, like, when you get put in that position, in that role, it's like you have to really step up and you have to do your part. And I think as long as you have other people around you, surrounding you, and supporting you, you have the ability to do that. And these guys have had the ability to do that, which is awesome.
All right, who is your top returner?
So my top returner, actually, he's not having a great year this year because he's had the injury bug, is Xavier Crawford. And he's probably one of the most, talented kids on the defensive side. Former freshman All-American, hasn't really had the type of year that I'm sure that he wanted or a lot of people expected out of him. But I'm expecting him to come back his junior year and return to where he was as a freshman. So he's my top returning guy for next year.
All right, big expectations for Xavier Crawford. And we're actually going to get Mike Parker's take on this. He's joining us from Corvallis. Mike, how do you feel like, how impactful will Crawford's growth be to this defense?
I think all you have to do, Amanda, is take a look at how the Beavers have been affected by his absence this year after his freshman All-American campaign last year. And Corey Hall was saying last year when he's not on the field, we have some issues and some problems. So a healthy Xavier Crawford to anchor the cornerbacks next year would be gigantic for the Beavers to take a big step forward. They've really missed him amongst many in that secondary this year, but maybe Xavier first and foremost.
It seems like for you the secret to success is simple going forward, though. Stop the run and get the run going, right?
Yeah, and with Arizona, it's easier certainly said than done. I mean, Arizona is rushing at a 327-yard per game clip. It seems as though Khalil Tate's getting about 300 of those per game, almost. Corey Hall knows that it's a big challenge, and it's pretty much the same for Corey and his Beaver approach every week.
What are the keys to victory? The same as they were last week, right? We have to stop the run. You have to. You know, you don't want to be off balance and have a team who's just going to impose their will on you in the run game, and then, you know, whenever they feel they can accomplish, you know, an RPO or, you know, play action deep ball, we got to be able to keep those things off of us. Now, again, you know, we have to maintain and continue with our identity and what we have established in running the ball.
And that means that primarily not going away from what they tried to do against Cal and Berkeley last week, Amanda. The Beavers had that same approach, wanting to gash the Bears with a run. A much improved Cal defense slowed the Beavers down. The Beavers are going to have to be able to run the football against Arizona to have a shot to win the game. On the other side, stopping the run means stopping Khalil Tate, who has become the first quarterback in the history of the Pac-12 to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season. He's essentially done it in 5 games. He's a phenom. The Beavers have their hands full, to be sure.
And the Beavers are going to be missing a key part of their defense in Bright Agwebu, at least for the first half against Arizona. He was ejected for targeting against Cal. Key Wetzel, how ready is he for this weekend and this challenge with Tate?
It's a big challenge, Amanda, but Key was flying around, in the great phrase of coaches, flying around making plays against Cal last weekend. I think he's ready to step into an increased role. Very fast young man and conscientious. I think he'll understand where he's supposed to be. Now, it's one thing with Khalil Tate in that rushing game, knowing where you're supposed to be, even reading the RPO correctly. Key's going to have some challenges in that respect. But then Bright Agwebu in the second half, I think, will bring a big lift to the defense in trying to contain Khalil Tate. But I think Key is ready to step up and have a big game.
So in this past game, we have Beau Baldwin on one sideline. You have Corey Hall on the other. I know Beau Baldwin's name has been mentioned in the coaching search for Oregon State. Any chance they could end up on the same staff in Corvallis, perhaps?
That's an interesting way to frame the question, Amanda. I suppose it is possible, because what Scott Barnes has said, that if he doesn't retain Corey Hall going forward as the permanent head coach, that he would strongly recommend that Corey be retained by the new staff. And of course, if Beau Baldwin is leading that staff, and everything right now is speculative in that respect, then I think there would be a strong push on Scott Barnes' part for Beau to retain Corey. Then you've got both sides of the football covered pretty well. Beau Baldwin's offense in Berkeley was tremendous. We saw how good it was at Eastern Washington with Vernon Adams back in 2013. So if it comes to Beau and Corey as a combo, I like the sound and the feel of that.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. A little later in the show, we're discussing whether or not there's any more pressure on the players to win for Coach Hall. And after the break, it's all about the future of Beaver football as our analysts give out their keys to success. Well, plenty of Oregon State shows for you each and every week here on NBC Sports Northwest. We've got Go Beavs this Friday after the Blazers game at 11 p.m. Inside the Huddle airs tomorrow at 9 p.m. And, of course, we wrap things up on Talkin Beavers next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. So just 3 games left in the season. I think everybody will say it has been sufficiently challenging for fans, folks talking about it. But there are a lot of things to look forward to in the future. So we're going to be talking about the 2 things that each of you think are critical to a rebuild here. So, Lindsay, we're going to start with you.
Okay, so I think number one, you need to do something different offensively, whether that's going back to a pro style, because Oregon State was always hard to prepare for because so few people run a pro style right now, or like if you hire Kenya Machalolo from Navy and you run an option, again, different. The second thing, I think you need to finish building the stadium. I think that if people contributed money to that, that shows a commitment to both the new head coach and the recruits that this community cares about football and wants to see the team be successful.
All right, Evanson, what do you have?
I want to see them compete. Obviously, with these next 3 games, I want to see them compete, go out there, just play like, maybe they are going to bowl game, right? Just have the attitude and obviously play for Coach Hall, like we all think that the team is doing. And then the attitude, right? We want to have a good attitude. The way we carry ourselves on the field and off the field, right? Obviously, I know there's some issues off the field, won't go there, but, that's the kind of things I'm talking about. Just the way they carry themselves, the attitude.
The way they represent the school.
Yeah, represent the school, because it's an honor, right, to be an Oregon State football player, and so you got to be able to respect that.
And I can imagine that all comes down to the new head coach, finding the right players, setting the right tone moving forward. All right, Jason, what are your 2 keys?
So I have 2 main ones, and I think one of those is, and I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, is to develop a passing game. I think in order to compete, in order to be good in this conference, you have to be able to throw the ball so you don't have so many people in the box, which they've struggled with, especially this year. So I think being able to develop a passing game is one of the things that they need to do. I think that with this next coach that comes in, I think him doing that and developing that would be beneficial to them. And the second thing, and one of the pillars to being successful as a program, is being able to keep local talent. I think anytime you're able to do that, it speaks and is a testament to how good you are as a program. You want to keep all the talented kids here locally, because not only does it give passion to the fan base, but also speaks to the team as a whole. So I think that's the second thing for me.
When Willie Taggart got hired at Oregon, one of the first things they did is they went on a recruiting blitz. They visited every single high school in the state of Oregon, regardless of classification, and that sent a message.
Yeah. I think in Oregon State was that team, but prior to that,
yes,
always
you're right.
in-state talent, and all of a sudden, Taggart goes and does this, what we used to do best.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing something a little different in our Toyota of Portland on Broadway tune-up this week. We're going debate style on a number of topics, and our objective journalist, Lindsay, is going to be the judge of who
But no
wins.
one wanted to debate me.
That might also be you.
Yeah, just let her be. Let her be.
Okay, and so Jason and Evanson are going to debate these hot topics.
That's right.
And our first topic
We have a timer too, right?
Do we? Okay, we do have a timer. Okay, you're going to have to
Each
make
have
your case
15 seconds.
Okay. So the first one is you have to have a spread option QB to win in the Pac-12. True or false? Jason, make your case.
Absolutely, yes. You have to have a spread offense, and the reason why you have to have a spread offense is because you have to do something creative, you have to do something better, you have to do something that competes with multi-talented people, and that's what Oregon State has to do. Yes, you have to be able to do that. You have Arizona that does that, you have Oregon that does that, you have a whole bunch of people that do that. There you go.
Oh, that was like right on time. Go, Evanson.
You know what? I don't even have to go real fast. No, you don't. Stanford does a great job. Oregon State used to do a great job running the pro-style offense, so no.
And you have 2 seconds to spare. Do you want those 2 seconds back? Oh, it's already up.
Oh, come on,
All right, too bad.
come on.
Lindsay, who wins?
Well, I think Evanson, but that might be because I agree with him.
No, that's not right. That's not fair.
Bias.
This is about debate.
Let's go.
It's not even fair.
Competition. Let's go, baby.
Okay, here's our second topic. Khalil Tate is the best player in the conference. Evanson, we're going to start with you. And who knows, maybe you'll get a little extra time.
I better.
He's going to have like 3 words. Okay, go.
Bryce Love. Duh. I mean, come on now. The guy was up for the Heisman. I think he still is. We can still talk about him being a Heisman candidate. Anyways, I think he's a great all-around back. One of the most explosive players we've seen in a while. Well, I guess last year's McCaffrey, Sutherland.
Okay, Jason, what do you have?
What have you done for me lately? Bryce Love only had 69 yards rushing last game. Didn't even play the game before that. All that Khalil Tate has done is he's rushed for over 1,000 yards past 5 games, 9 touchdowns throwing the ball, 8 touchdowns rushing the ball. Come on, 1,047 yards rushing. Come on, that's it.
I'm going with Jason this time because he has good numbers to back up his argument.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Here's the tough one. This is the tiebreaker. Our third and final topic is Khalil Tate will go to New York City to be he'll be invited to the Heisman Trophy presentation as probably the lone Pac-12 representative. We're going with Jason to start.
Absolutely, yes. Just because of what I just said, 1,047 yards rushing in 5 games. He's going to get another 500 yards probably rushing the ball in the next 3 or 4 games. So
You're going to say against Oregon State.
Oh, no, I was going to say Oregon State. So he's going to have a better, rushing yards, passing yards, all that. Yeah, so he's going to be the one.
Okay, Evanson.
No.
Time's winding down. 10
No,
seconds.
because listen, it's a Heisman Trophy winner is throughout the whole season, not 5 games. You over here talking about 5 games. Don't worry about 5 games. It's the whole season, and he's easily has done way better than Khalil.
Ooh.
Evanson.
Oh my gosh.
Jason.
But I would like to point out, that neither of you pointed out that the biggest problem with both these guys is that they're playing so late. No. The reason that Khalil Tate's not going to be invited, I think, is because they had a huge marquee game against SC the other day, and what did he do? Absolutely nothing the first half, and then everyone went to sleep.
All right, more to come here on the show, but right now we're heading over to the OSU Beavers store.
Hey Beaver Nation, I'm Melanie. I'm here at the OSU Beaver Store campus location. We're in our Nike section, a huge section of our store. Brand new products in for men and women. I got this summer. I loved it. It was too hot to wear, but I still got it. New orange sweatshirt and the puffer vest with pockets, perfect. We're gonna head over to the men's section and find out what's there. In our men's section, they've updated the gray puffer vest. They've got the hit on the back, love that. And of course they have the orange OSU Go Beavs Nike shoes. You've got to get these. Come in for everything you need and more here at the OSU Beaver Store. Fans start here.
Off to Tucson for the Beavers this weekend. I believe they are 23-point underdogs. All right, Jason, are they going to win this weekend? Any chance?
Hell to the nah. Hell to the nah.
Lindsay, do you think it's going to happen? No. Oh.
They got a shot.
Look at
so positive.
They got a shot.
Yeah, they've had 9 shots.
They've matched their intensity. They got a shot.
Yeah, they've had 9 shots.
And run the ball a lot.
Hey, you know what? When they went there in 2012, no one saw it coming.
All right, we'll see you back here next week.